Thank you for listening to Hustle and Heart. I'm your host, Edie Weintraub. Today, we are honored to have with us Jaime Izurieta, a visionary expert in urban revitalization and storefront design. With over 20 years of experience, Jaime helps urban districts become more engaging and attractive by guiding business owners and developers in transforming their spaces into thriving destinations. Jaime, thank you so much for being here.
Of course, Edie. Thank you so much. I'm very, very excited.
So I do think the word placemaking gets interpreted by parties differently. And I'd really love for you to walk us through how you approach placemaking and what our listeners can learn from the great work that you are doing.
Of course. So there's the definition of placemaking, which is the process of creating a safe, nurturing, and inclusive place when it is done by the community that is going to enjoy the place. Because this is how we create the ownership, this is how we create this is how people have a vested interest in keeping that place in the best shape possible. When I talk about placemaking, I like to refer to that particular meaning because I believe that it is extremely difficult for just one person to come and create a place that has all the meaning, that has all the layers, and that has all the components that a place needs to look great, basically. When you step in, you feel like you are in a great place. There's an emotional connection, there's beauty to it, there's belonging, there's companionship with everyone that is there, and you're enjoying this, just the beauty that is around you. So this is how I use it as a geographical location that people share, and that people can feel this sense of belonging, and that it has the qualities that it looks beautiful, number one, it looks safe, number one, number two, and I really try to use the term sexy. It's very hard to explain, but it is something like the aspirational thing that you have when there's this new restaurant that just opened in town, and I don't know, Ferrari arrives, doors open, movie star gets out, you're like, I want to be in that place. Those places are sexy. There's different levels of that, of course, but if places have that attractiveness to them, I think that is what draws people together and what allows people to share in those spaces. And this is what I go for.
So I'm very curious, for those who have not had a chance to read your book, what inspired you to get into this field?
What inspired me to get into this field? Well, the long story or the short story? Let's begin with when I was very little. I used to make cities with my little G.I. Joe figurines. And my mother used to say, this is what you're going to do. You're going to be a city builder. She probably didn't say it to me, but she told herself, and it happened. And so eventually I came to the US, to Savannah, actually, to study architecture. I studied at SCAD for 5 years, architecture and historic preservation. And then I moved on, went back home to Ecuador and started practicing. And while I was in college, I discovered placemaking. It was very incipient at the time. The Project for Public Spaces was new. The whole placemaking movement had just begun to become a widespread thing, and also the new urbanism. And so I discovered those two things in college as I was graduating, and I went back home and started practicing with those principles. I was teaching at the university the principles of placemaking and new urbanism, and I was practicing a little bit of interior design, a little bit. Architects in Ecuador are a little bit different than they are here, in which we do the interior design, we do the landscape design, we do pretty much the whole project. So a little bit of everything. And then I decided to go to the Netherlands to a master's degree in this was called urban management and development. And what that allowed me to do is to see how thrifty, gritty, and gritty, and thrifty, I guess. That's the word, thrift. The Dutch are, well, building cities, and how amazing those cities are when they build them like that, because there's a lot of authenticity. There's a lot of DIY, and there's a lot of collaboration. The Dutch have and if there's a Dutch speaker in the audience, please do not kill me. They have this verb called polderen, which is, you may have heard of the polders, which are these structures with dikes and valleys and everything that they have to basically create land from land that is previously submerged. Call them polders. So polderen is this mindset of putting your shoulder together and pushing and building and creating great things. So that kind of shifts things. So I went back to Ecuador again, and then I'm taking too long to tell the story. And then my family was opening a bookstore. They decided that, hey, you design, so you're gonna design the bookstore. So they shipped me over to Buenos Aires, where there was a class during the Buenos Aires Book Fair, which is a huge book fair. There was a class by this Italian-Argentinian master of bookstore design. And he was designing the Feltrinellis and the Waterstones in Singapore and London and Rome, and amazing dude. So he was talking about everything but design. He was not talking about design. He was talking about, so this is how people, when they come into your bookstore, they do not want to kneel down to look at the books. They want to look at the books as they are walking. It needs to be easy for them. It needs to be comfortable. Like, dude, I came here to learn about design. I don't care about this. As this progresses, I'm realizing that what he's talking about is he's talking about an experience. He's talking about experiential design. He's not talking about make it blue, make it red, make it tall, make it low. No, that doesn't matter. What matters is how people use it, and what are the emotions, what are the feelings, and what are the comforts that you are offering the person who is interacting with that space. That is enough to change the mindset of any designer. So I came back home, we created this bookstore. It is, to this day, I have to say, is the most beautiful bookstore in town. It's beautiful. Why? Because we created the bookstore from a journey standpoint. We first created what the people would feel and how the people would walk and what the people would see before we designed it. After we had created that, then came design. So completely flipping the script of how I was taught design, right? And so that happened. We started the bookstore. It was a good thing. And then we decided to come to the US. When we came, I did not have a job. I did not have an architecture license, so I was not going to practice architecture. I was like, what am I going to do? And then one of my friends suggested that I write down things that I have done. So I started looking back and saying, what if I am able to give any advice to someone, what can this advice be? And I'm thinking, and it is a very depressing thing to do, because you're like, no, not good enough. Maybe not good enough, or not good enough. Eventually, it was like, maybe I have been working with economic development, and I have been working with placemaking, and I have been giving classes at university, and I am, of course, an architectural designer, and the bookstore. So what if I create something for small businesses, small business owners who can design their own storefronts? Not yet. That is number two.
Tell me when.
That is number two.
Perfect.
So this is what I can do. I can work with the business owners and help them design their own storefronts. Because if I design them, it may be alien. It may be something that arrives upon them, and it may not be a manifestation of how their business works. If they do it themselves, it's gonna be something that manifests what their business does. And so I created this program called the 10 No BS Rules for Successful Storefront Design, which I wrote a book also, and that I put that out into the world. This is how Storefront Mastery started. I had a job at the time. It was a very interesting job in urban technology. The client roster grew enough so that I could leave that, which I will be forever grateful for, and start 100% full-time in Storefront Mastery. And this is how it started. It has evolved from a design service to a counseling service. Right now, I do some design, but most of what I do is helping business owners connect their stories with their storefronts. And the way that I do it is I sit down with them. They tell me everything I need to know about their business, how they operate, how they found the product that people like, what is the design process that they had for their business model, for their operations, for their store, for everything. We look at everything that they're doing. They tell me their stories, and we figure out a story that they can in turn tell with the design so that they don't have to tell it themselves. And this is the key to the whole thing. The last one I did was amazing, and you will love this. I hope you cry, because people cry when I tell them this. This is a restaurant owner who is she's young, and her grandmother, who was Italian, of course, Italian nonna, right? Lots of cooking and lots of family and lots of very nurturing kind of thing. And so there was a very special relationship between this little girl and her grandmother. Eventually she was working in the restaurant, and she decided to buy the restaurant from the previous owner and start her own restaurant along with the chef. And this pair is just amazing. The chef is great. If there's anyone in your audience who recommends people for the James Beard Award, please come to Montclair. I'll take you to eat at Joya Mia and you'll love it. Anyway, that's besides the point. Anyway, the point is that so the name of the restaurant is the pet name that the grandmother had for the little girl. The logo of the restaurant is, I did not do any of this. This is how it is. The logo of the restaurant is the handwriting of the grandmother that she took from the last letter that she sent her while she was still alive. I am crying when she's telling this story, right? So like, oh, this is amazing. There's no way that I could want to come here every day more. And so she finishes, and the thing is, she has to tell this story to everyone, because when you walk into the restaurant, there's nothing with the design of the restaurant that is helping her tell the story. So she's sick of telling the story. She has to tell it 1,000 times a week. And at some point, it's like, I don't want to tell anymore. And I say, no, I'm going to help you so that the restaurant tells the story for you. This is what we created. We created a table that is taken off the rotation. And this is a very special, very VIP. So it's a VVIP table that you do not get to sit in. You only get to sit in if you jump through a series of hoops that only the most loyal people who are part of the Joya Mia family will be able to sit there. It's taken off resi, so you cannot ask for that table unless you have right to ask for the table. It's going to be reserved all the time, and it's going to be special place setting, special plates, the china that Nonna had, special lighting, special menu, letter is going to be framed there so you can read all about the story, and it's going to be a completely separate thing from the rest of the restaurant. When you walk in, you see this table. It's like, I want to sit there. No, you can't. You're not able to sit at that table. You're only able to sit in that table if you jump through these hoops. Here's the requisites. And of course, some of the very VIPs will be able to sit there, but that's it. The table's going to remain reserved for most of the time. So it's things like this that help the business owners connect the stories that they already have. The stories abound. It's just that they have not sit down and written those stories and have not taken the time to see how those stories connect with the actual design of the place. This is where I come in. I am the one who connects the stories with the stores.
Beautiful. I think oftentimes too, as business owners, you're so in the business that sometimes it's very difficult to contemplate how to best get that story across to the audience. And a lot of times, like she might be a chef or an operator or whatnot, and you're not necessarily a storyteller or know the details and the emotion to extract from which to share with guests. So I think having this special table that is reserved for those who make the investment to come in to take the time to learn the story is really beautiful.
It is, and she was super happy. Of course, I was super happy because I think it's a great idea. I have several more of those that we have done in the same way. And I was talking to a friend the other week, and he was like, "So, what is the service you provide?" And I'm telling them, right, I do this, and this is what I like. No. I don't want to know what you think what the service is. I want to know in 3 words what the service is. And so let's find the pattern in everything that you do. So what did you do for this one? And what did you do for this other one? What did you do for this other one? So I tell him, and we try to find the pattern. And the pattern is precisely that they have a story, and the story is disconnected, and I help them connect the story with the storefront. So this is what happens. It illuminates everything around it, and sometimes they don't even need to spend money. And this is something that's very important. Many business owners don't have an endowment behind them. Many business owners do not have wealthy venture capitalists putting money in their places. Many business owners are entrepreneurs bootstrapped who need to spend as much time as possible working on their business, because they are the sole managers of the whole thing. They're like a single person crew. So it's very useful to have someone who will help you connect these things and implement these things with very little budget.
Yourselves, this is perfect entree into this, folks. So I'm curious, what could entrepreneurs do to enhance their storefront and attract more customers? And I know you work in the realm of retail, of restaurant, there's not necessarily any particular, even I would gather even service, right? Like you said, your wife's a dentist. So depending on how she's positioned in the market, she might want people to know that she's there to take care of the community, or, some more often than not, medical uses, dentists, doctors, etc., are in medical campuses or offices. So I guess tell us a little bit more about what will attract those customers who really need to kind of walk past the space and get pulled in.
There's different realities to different zoning. For example, the place where our dental office is, the zoning establishes that medical or professional offices that are in that P1 zone, they need to look like residential homes. That is the requisite. So you cannot actually go in and change your residential house into something that looks like a dental office. No, it needs to be a house that is a dental office. This is a zoning requirement. We need to comply with it. That's the reality. So what to do? There's landscaping. You can modify the landscaping. There's signage. You can modify the signage. Of course, there's, again, requisites for how much signage you can have. You can have illuminated signs or non-illuminated signs, etc. So there's always hurdles that you need to, or hoops that you need to jump through to get to the place that you want. Number one thing I would say is going to be presence in social media, networking, and finding places where you can talk about what you do. You don't want to be advertising. That's probably the main thing. You don't want to advertise. You want honest, authentic, and earnest conversations about what you do. And this is my thing, is changing my website and my LinkedIn page daily. I talk to people and some idea will pop up and say, I am saying in my LinkedIn page that I am working with business improvement districts and developers, but I am not working with them. I'm guiding them. I'm just putting an example. So I go in and I change it. And it's this whole thought process of how do I communicate better? How do I iterate the communication until I find the point where I just hand them a little card, they take the little card, and immediately they're like, I need it, right? So that comes from a lot of networking. It comes very little from design. You'd be surprised how little it comes from design, because the design can be the best you've seen in your life. You'll go through those doors and you'll be amazed. If there's no emotional connection with the business, you will leave and you will be the dreaded tire kicker. And you don't want that. You want people who engage. And this is also how retail and all the other industries that have storefronts have changed in later years. So before, it used to be a simply transactional. So if you sell t-shirts, I step into your shop, I look for the t-shirt I want, I give you money, you give me my t-shirt, we say goodbye, very kindly, very nicely, and I leave. Before, you wanted my money. Now you want my time. You want me to be in your store long enough so that I can learn that the cheap t-shirts that you are selling me come from the cotton fibers that are taken by the women-led households in Brazil with this program of fair market
fair trade.
Yeah, there. And the green seal and the sustainable practices and everything. And you may or may not tell me these stories, but the t-shirt will tell me these stories. And everything how you have designed your store is going to be conducive to you telling me that story through the design, through the products, and not actually telling me the story. So as this changes and the change settles, in which you don't want my money but you want my time, because you want a sustainable long-term relationship with each one of your clients. You want your clients to become your advocates. You want your clients to become ambassadors for your brand. You want your clients to become your regulars. And you want your clients to become people who are going to be coming back over and over and over again and becoming partners of your growth. So it's a very different relationship than it was before. It was a customer. Right now, it's not a customer. Now it's a partner. It's an advocate. It's an ambassador. That's the type of relationship that you wanna cultivate with your tribe. I don't even call them your customer or your client base or whatever. Call them their tribe, because that's what it is. They are creating communities. They are building community more than anything else.
True. I feel that. I feel compelled to, connect with certain groups that I, host these podcasts. I said, Austin, I feel like there's a theme emerging here. And, while it's hustle and heart conversations with culture creators, I tend to gravitate towards folks that are restaurateurs in the food space, because so much of food, is around a table, people gathering, sharing ideas, conversations. But similarly, also in the world of retail, right? When you go shopping, it's beautiful when you can see a cluster of shops together, because you go to one destination and you can stop in one shop, and then you can go to the next shop, and then you can go to the next shop, and just really have the opportunity to explore, be curious, and see what's new in each of those shops with each of the different shop owners.
But I'll tell you something, those are the bricks. The mortar is the food. It's always the food. That is what's going to bring people together. That is what's going to bring people around the table. That is what's going to bring people, because it's an appeal to the senses more than just, hey, look at this pretty thing. Look at this pretty thing that smells amazing and tastes incredible. So come to my table. And while you're sitting down and eating my food, I will tell you the story. And this is how it starts. This is how you're able to build your community, because you're giving people something that will keep them sitting down for long enough so that you can finish telling the story. And this is usually food. It may be a restaurant, it may be a food truck, it may be a little food cart that is just in the precise strategic place in the middle of a commercial area that has a few storefronts that have nothing to do with food, that little cart that is preparing, I don't know, whatever, panini, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's that is going to be the beginning of a story, the beginning of a conversation. That is going to bring people to, this is when people stop and pause and wait for their food to be served. This is when they think, this is when they share. As they are in the queue, they are talking there. This is where people really get together. If you're at the Gap, go in, pay for the t-shirt, get out.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've being in retail, restaurant, real estate, I've seen that flip of more centers designed where it used to be 80% retail, 20% food. And I almost feel like it's 80% food, 20% retail, which, you know, is good and bad, right? At the end of the day, people are coming in, they're eating, they've got a variety of options to go. But then after they eat, they don't really have a place to navigate and stretch their legs. I love walking after I eat to just help with the digestion process. And I'd love an opportunity to be able to explore. But I feel like I hope we're having a renaissance of retail, in that retail exists very healthy in Europe. And I think a lot of it is they didn't go big, right? They don't have these mega stores or department stores for the most part, right? There's a couple, and I'm a huge fan of the documentary about Harry Selfridge, because I think he's an absolute genius when it comes to studying consumer behavior. One of my favorite pieces within that show is that initially everything was behind a wooden cabinet, and he was going in and he was buying a pair of gloves for his wife. And the salesperson turned around, got a pair of gloves, put them on this beautiful foam, showcase piece. And he said, well, I want to see what else you have. She took that pair of gloves, she put it away, she brought out another single pair. And I think he was truly instrumental in offering glass display cases, or just putting the product in front of the consumer and allowing them to pick rather than that salesperson choosing for you. And so he just completely turned around the way that we shop for ourselves, because the consumers then have a choice on what to wear. And so I'm just fascinated by that. But I think overall, I tell my restaurateurs, my retailers, small is the new big, because you want to create that warm, inviting environment, because you can truly reach your customer. If you have this cavernous industrial sized space, it's very difficult to have that warmth and the connection to them.
It is very difficult, but in the end, it's not difficult to just break the space down and make it cozy in sections, right? So a good designer can do that for you. However, there's something very interesting in what you say about Selfridges. It's cycles, right? So right now, our cycle right now is to show everything. I walked into this party store, and this woman is just fantastic, great entrepreneur. However, she has everything that she sells is out there. So I walk in and I see a shelf completely full of plastic silverware of every single color possible. Go to the next one and I see all the balloons of every single color and size and shape possible. Go to the next one, I see all the tablecloths that they have, and I see she just has everything there. And I ask her about the business, and listen to this. Her business is, she makes the piñatas herself by hand to order, and her daughter makes the cakes by hand, custom, to order. And her other daughter does balloon sculptures to order, custom. And I walk into this place and I have no idea that she's doing this. I have no idea, because I am overwhelmed by the table. It's a beautifully decorated table full of toys, because I can buy all the birthday gifts there. And I keep walking and I see all these, everything is just screaming to me. 2,000 forks, 5,000 knives, 8,000 tablecloths. And I'm like, you know what? We can put everything that you have here, we can put in the back. And this can be the showroom of your piñatas, cakes, and balloon sculptures. And the service that you will offer is, I make your party for you. And I will bring the piñata you want, the cake you want, the balloons you want, and of course, everything else. People don't care about the forks. People care that the forks that they are using are the same color of the rest of the party, but they don't care about they don't go and buy forks. They're trying to buy party. You give them the party in the box. We get rid of the store where you show everything, and we create the store where it is a showroom. And this is very relevant for what you're saying. Retail, there was more retail before and less restaurants, and now it's more restaurants and less retail. Yes, because retail is, and I'm going to say something, wait, the rest will come. Retail is dying. And we all know that this is happening. But then Jaime comes and says, wait a second. Retail is not dying. Only boring retail is dying. So don't be boring. How are you able to overcome boring? You become this experiential place. You become this place of hospitality. You become this place that, especially if you are in a walkable street or in a main street or in a downtown area, you become a hospitality business first. And you become the host of this downtown, regardless of what you sell. You become the host of your downtown, and you receive the guests of your downtown. You nurture them, and you take them, and you guide them, and you direct them to experience the downtown to the fullest. In that sense, you are not just there to sell a pair of socks or a t-shirt. You are there as the ambassador of downtown. So it flips the script again. It flips the script from, yes, I am a retail business. No, sir. What you are is a hospitality business. And even more, some of those businesses are going to be entertainment businesses. The customer needs to be entertained so that when they are there, they're having the best time of their lives. So they are the Joe Pine and Jim Gilmore, the authors of The Experience Economy, they talk about time well spent. And this is what you want to give people. You want to give them time well spent. When they are interacting with your brand, you give them something they will not forget. This is how you become unforgettable. This is how you become the entertainer of the place. This is how you become the hub of the place. You become the reason people are coming to a place. And they need to strive for that. They need to strive to be the reason why people come to their places.
Beautiful. I know that we could talk for hours, but I do know we've got to wrap this up. Where can our listeners get some more information from you about you and your work?
Okay. Yes, I have a website, which is storefrontmastery.com. My company is called Storefront Mastery. And so the website is storefrontmastery.com. I am in LinkedIn, Jaime Izurieta. You can find me there. I am also in Facebook, Storefront Mastery, and I post in Facebook much less than I should. I usually post more in LinkedIn and I'm more active in LinkedIn. I don't know why. I don't know if it has any impact whatsoever. But this is where I am posting more, more serious, more thought out things. And mostly, I'll be working in a downtown near you pretty much sometime in the future. So storefrontmastery.com. If you want to email me, my email is jaime@storefrontmastery.com or hello@storefrontmastery.com. And thank you for the plug for the book. My latest book is called Main Street Mavericks. It was published in March. And it's essentially talking about experiences in Main Street, how those businesses that have been growing and have become the pioneers and top performers in your downtown are able to guide and to mentor and to educate the rest of the businesses so that there is a rising tide, and how can local organizations manage that and help the ones that are thriving become these hospitable and experiential and entertainment businesses that will be the reasons why people come to downtown. So storefrontmastery.com, and you can find all the information there about my social media, about the books that I wrote, not only this one, but also the 10 OBS rules for successful storefront design. And that's it. My name is Jaime, and thank you so much for this time.
Well, thank you so much to our guest today, Jaime Izurieta, for sharing his valuable insights on transforming storefronts and fostering community in downtown communities. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, keep savoring the flavors of success. Stay hungry for more stories from leaders and innovators in the world of placemaking.
My name is Jaime Izurieta, and you are listening to Hustle and Heart.